Hi there, welcome back to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop. Today we're going to be working on a 2003 Buick Lesabre. This is the custom model, so it has a little more bling than the typical Lesabre. And today we need to change out the air shocks on the level ride suspension in the back. So let's get cracking. Now, we're pretty positive that the air system is working properly, as the car holds its own real well as far as holding its level. But the problem is we've got some major fluid leakage on this one, and of course it's no longer a shock absorber, so you know, you let that go too long and you'll start seeing funky tire wear and all that good stuff. So we're going to change these out, and thankfully this is not too difficult a job. So first step is we'll go ahead and we'll pull the tires off and get us a little better access to everything. And then of course there's some other little gotchas you got to be careful of when you take this shock loose, because it's what provides the end limit of travel for the suspension. So we have to disconnect the level sensor and things like that, because if we let it go, it'll tear the arm off the level sensor. So we're not going to, as I said, we're not going to have to mess with it, but the actual air compressor that controls these little shocks is right up there. They try to keep it as far back and away from the passenger compartment as possible, because it is an air compressor and makes racket when it runs. So, but we've checked all the lines. We don't see any leakage, and my friend says you know, the car holds level fine. It's just the you know, it's got that kind of hoopty ride thing going on where it bounces funny on one side, and I can see why, because all the oil's leaked out of that one shock. So, and it's probably more than likely it was a gas pressurized shock as well. So if it was, that would be doubly bad, because then that means that if liquid can get out, so can all the gas. So, but anyway, let's get started. We're going to drop her down to a nice working height and start tearing her apart. Okay, so now we're going to approach our first little challenge. So obviously we're going to have to pop off our sensor here. This is what tells the level ride system where the car is, the back end of the car is in relation to being level. You know, if you got a bunch of luggage and a bunch of people in the car and it's sagging in the back, it pushes that arm up, turns the compressor on, and brings it up until the car is level. And ergo, also when you get take the load out of the car and then it springs up, then it'll vent the air off of the shocks and let it come back down again. So, but the quandary here is that we're going to need to make a special tool. This coil spring is not really, it's under, I think, a little more load than I'm comfortable with, and getting the spring out, you know, we could do it with a hydraulic jack and all that kind of stuff, but that might make it a bit of a challenge, since the top of this comes up into the trunk. So we're either going to be lifting the car up and down, or you know, having to climb into the car while it's up this high and all. I don't really care to do that. So what we'll do is we'll make a tool out of a piece of bar stock or round stock, or just plain old rebar really. Put a hook in it where it'll hook right here, and then can hook down here, so we can push up on this arm, okay, to take the load off of this, because this is what holds it, and then hook it, and it'll hold it in position then we're free to do what we need to do on the top or the bottom without anything springing loose on us. So, and what we'll do is we'll take this and bend a hook on each end and get it the right length to where it'll take a little bit of, this will come up just a bit so we can get our shock in and out, and we'll be good. Okay, so I made my little bar. I've been a 90-degree hook in the top and a little J on the bottom, and then we just stuck a floor jack under here and picked it up just enough to hook this in here. And all that does is that just holds everything in place. Now we can safely take the shock out, and ideally really you don't even have to worry about this, but because that will hold it in place. So we're good to go there. Now we're going to pop the trunk and get that top bolt out wherever it is and go from there. Okay, now in this car we're pretty lucky because it comes up into the trunk where you can pull your carpeting back out of the way and get to it. And then there's just a little plastic cover on here, and there's your, all we have to worry about is this one bolt in the center. Now the ones that kind of suck are the ones that actually go up into the here, and you got to take the package tray out, which requires usually taking out the back seat, and boy is that a bear. But anyway, we're lucky on this one. This one will be easy, so let's get going here. Okay, so now we got that out. So when we release all the rest of the stuff, the shock should drop right out here. So let's pick her up and we'll disconnect our airlines and all that good stuff. Watch yourself there, Ard, going up.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we've unhooked our airline, and how you have to do that is you have to spread this little metal clip apart.
Where's your flashlight?
Now, I got plenty of light, Art.
Okay.
So the way I do it is I use like a pair of snap ring pliers that I can get in there and spread it apart. That way you don't break anything, because this is all just plastic. So, and you'll notice how this bends around on this hook here, and you'll see where that comes into play later when we go to put the new shock back in. So of course, when we got the bolt or the nut off the top, then we compress the shock. And I stand corrected, these were not gas charged shocks, so, or at least they aren't now if they were. But I noticed that the new ones over there aren't self-expanding, so I'm guessing that they're not gas charged. And then anyway, you've got two 10mm bolts that come up here through a self-threading, or a like a little J-clip bolt. They're a J-clip nut.
Anchor nut.
Has the threads on it, and we'll take those off and slide them on the new shock. And then that's pretty much it. And you see my little MacGyver tool here holding the lower control arm in place, not allowing that spring to do anything awful. And we're good. So let's get over here to the workbench. So what we got here, while Ard's working on that other shock over there. Oh, you're done already?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, hang on here. So this is the new shock. This one's compressed all the way. But, and he put our little J clips on there, and we got that. We carried that over from the other shock, and actually we get new ones of those with the new shock, because those are lock nuts. You don't want them coming out.
Good
so
show.
they come in here. So we'll use those, and we'll get the shock in there, and it's pretty easy peasy.
Here, let me show.
All right. So if you want to bring the camera in here, all we have to do is we set our shock in there, and of course you can't turn these, so we have to make sure that the air nipple is pointed in the right direction. And then we get our two bottom bolts in, and we'll go ahead and run those up tight, since they need to You need those in there good and strong and sturdy anyway. Always make sure you turn your air gun the other way so you don't zip them back out again. That's usually pretty aggravating. My air tank's a little low. My compressor's slowly dying out there. So it runs down to about 60 pounds before it comes on. But that'll be for another episode when I get to put my new big honking 80-gallon compressor in there. Now, all we gotta do, I like using the ones off the original factory shock for the bottom plate because they fit, they're a lot thicker and more substantial. But what we're going to do here, you'll notice how this has kind of a loop and a hook. Well, these lines don't bend very well.
They break.
And you can
okay.
get in there like that, and you'll see how they loop around like this. But to get them seated into the shock, what we want to do here first, since we're going to be pulling a vacuum, we want to go ahead and extend this and get her on up through there. Then with the airline out like this, we get it to where it'll go all the way in and lock in just like that, and she snapped in, and that should be all there is to it. Alright, now we're going to lock our nut down over here. These are self-locking nuts. You always want to make sure you use the nut that came with the shock, and usually they make sure you do that because the replacement shock will have a different thread than the original sometimes, but sometimes not. We'll go ahead and snug this puppy down. Now usually that would be sufficient.
That is.
I will show you what they have on here to the top of the shock.
Take it up there.
The top of the shock has flats on it.
Where you can put a
Wrench on it, and then you can get your nut or your wrench on the nut, and that'll hold the shock, keep it from trying to spin while you're getting the nut tightened down. And of course, we've already got it good and tight, so, or German guten tight. So I think this goes the other way here. There we go. That's it.
And it's done. One side complete.
Yep.
You just had it easy.
Now you pop all your preformed padding, carpeting, and all that stuff in there, and all the customers' golf clubs, golf balls, hand grenades, whatever else they happen to have in there, and you're all good to go. And I didn't cover this when I was taking it apart, but that little damn it actually screws in, so don't try and yank on it and pop it out or you'll break something. Now, all we're going to do is repeat the process on the other side here, and I'll show you how we take our little jig out of there in just a second. Okay, now I have my beautiful assistant Ard. Now, what we're doing here, it doesn't take a lot.
Go ahead.
All he has to do is just put a little bit of pressure on that lower control arm, and that comes right on out of there. And then he'll release the pressure on the jack, and there, it's done. Like I said, we'll repeat the process on the other side here, but that's pretty much in a nutshell how it's done here. So, hope you learned something today. It's not too terribly difficult, but then again, we can't assume everybody knows all this stuff, and it's certainly something you can do, you know, as a do-it-yourself kind of thing, save you a little money having to take it to a garage. Now, obviously, you'll have to do it a little different than we did it because I have a lift, but you can just as well do it one wheel at a time on the back with, you know, a good sturdy floor jack, a jack stand, and that sort of thing to accomplish the same ends that we did here. So, again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and feel free to post any comments down below, or you can email me directly at MacGyversWorkshop@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.